Hi guys, this is Simeon
I'm Alex.
from Swedish Homestead. We have passed 30,000 subscribers a few days ago, and as promised, we were going to do an Q&A, and here we are. There have been questions asked to my parents, to me, to my wife, and we will not answer all the questions since we want to keep some kind of privacy, but we'll do our best, and I hope you enjoy this. So, the first question was, what about normal family meals? What do you commonly eat? How do you store the food you raise? And are Swedish homes different from other houses in Europe or North America? You want to take the meal?
Yeah, meals, I think we eat sometimes traditional German stuff, sometimes American stuff, or things that I grew up eating. We'll cook or things that you grew up eating. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not typically like Swedish or German. Like, we have a really wide variety that we cook here.
And we just don't buy like processed food. We make our own stuff from scratch.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you store the food you raise? Well, we've dried some. For example, onion, garlic, we always try to store it warm and fresh. Some stuff we try to freeze. We have frozen a lot of tomatoes. You have done that last year. Obviously, the meat and stuff is in the freezer.
We want to get more into canning and stuff, but
yeah, I think next year pressure canner. And is that what you need for the tomato sauce and stuff as well? Yeah. Pressure canner is what we want to get. Potatoes, we store them in a kind of like a cellar. Are Swedish homes different from other houses? Well, I think even there's a great variety of houses in the US. From where I have been, even Oregon is very different to how houses are in Arizona, and it's the same here in Europe. Sweden has a lot of wooden houses. The older houses are log houses, not so much in rock. In Germany, where I grew up, all the houses are built out of rock. Here we have a viewer who asked a whole bunch of questions. Let me just read them real quick and answer them. Please share your plans plus individual projects or experiments for your land improvements. Do you increase your orchard every year? We will improve our land, our pastures. I think a very big part of that is having a pasture poultry operation. Both the chicken tractors and the broilers, and also the layers that will go on there. Next question is, are you doing mob grazing? That would be the second big important step in this, and have this controlled land management where you have intensive use for a short time and then a rest period, and we're going to do both. We don't really have a strict paddock setup, which was another question. We don't really have that. We have permanent fences kind of along the natural key lines of the land. That's what I was referring to, by the way, in a previous video. That was another question here. Just where the land naturally, how it flows. That's where we will set up our permanent fences. And then we will have to learn to see how much grass will the cows eat in one day. And that's how big the paddock will be when we do the mop grazing. And that can vary a lot from spring to summer to fall, depending on how much grass is on there and how thick the grass is, how good the pasture is. That can vary. So that'll be a long and steep learning curve, but basically at the end of the day, or the next day when you move the cows to the new part, to the new paddock, you don't want any grass standing on where they were, pretty much. That's going to be the thought. And so the mob grazing and the pasture poultry is what we really hardcore want to increase our pastures with. Then gardening, we do no-dig gardening, and there obviously we want to add good compost to increase the land. Orchard, I would love to have a much bigger orchard, but there's such a slow return of money and all of that is not our priority right now. But I would love if I had a few thousand cubic meters of wood chips. I would just cover everything and plant the orchard. There was another viewer who asked, can you talk more about the education? You've mentioned that you studied farming. Well, here in Sweden, after 9th grade, you can choose what kind of education you kind of want to pursue already. So the high school, you have a high school for kids who want to become electricians, one for kids who want to become farmers, one who want to become carpenters, construction workers, all that kind of stuff. And so I did that for farming. It was an organic farming school, and for 3 years, basically you have math and Swedish and history and all of that on the side. At the same time, you study very specific towards farming. And the first year it's more general, still a lot of math and history and science and in general, and then the second year and third year you go deeper and deeper into the subjects. I lived at the school. It was an organic farm with several hundred acres of fields. They had a big pig operation. They had maybe, I'm not sure really, maybe 80 cows, dairy cows. They had sheep, and so that's where you were. And even during the summer break, sometimes you had to work there. You had to do several weeks of internship out on other farms. I even went outside of Sweden, and I focused on studying sheep and about sheep because sheep is my big passion. Interestingly enough, we don't have sheep at the moment, but that has been my big passion. So I even went to Germany and worked with a shepherd there who still walked and grazed his sheep there. So that's a bit my education. I haven't really worked that much with it afterwards for several reasons, but what we're implementing here now, I can say that 90% of it I did not learn at the school, because the school, even though it was organic farming, it still was the industrial way of doing farming, and both the non-till approach, the permaculture approach, and the intensive use of the land with several different species of animals and all of that was completely foreign, and my eyes first had to be open to that later on. What are your favorite meals from what you harvest on the homestead?
I think probably our whole family likes when we make chicken and mashed potatoes from our potatoes, and obviously the chicken from our chicken, green beans from our garden, with lingonberries that we picked in the forest. Yeah. That's probably everybody's favorite meal in
I
our house.
love my wife's homemade salsa with just ingredients from our farm.
Yeah, that's
tomatoes, onions, garlic, cilantro, all of that stuff just from our garden. It's
yeah.
I love it.
We have lots of favorites.
Yeah. Do you like ducks or chickens more? Why or why not? What about you?
As animals or to eat?
Well, both. I don't know.
Chickens probably. I mean, the ducks we have walking around, if they will eat our slugs, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I just love chickens. To me, they're just much easier to have. They don't make such a big mess with the water, for example. And I just love how they scratch and look for food. The ducks we're just getting into. I love eating duck, but chickens, I would say besides sheep, chickens are my favorite. Somebody asked, how did you and your wife meet? I'm German, you're American, we live in Sweden. We met in Germany when we went to a Bible college. And you lived in Germany before then, for a while. I actually thought she was German when I met her because her German is accent-free, and that's how we met. Yeah. Then we got married and we moved to Sweden. We didn't move to the farm right away. We lived for 1 year later in Germany. Then we came back here and built this house here on the farm. How often do you visit the US? If the funding was available, would you do a homestead visit tour to some of your mentor farms and homestead, something like the Rhodes family is doing, but understandably on a shorter time frame? We have gone to the US in average probably every 3 to 4 years. And now naturally with the farm starting up more, it'll probably be winter time, the only time that we can visit. I'm dying. We both are dying to visit, for example, Polyface Farms, some other great places. I would love to visit Vermont Compost, Carl Hammer, would just be amazing, but the funding is not there. That's right. And you know, obviously our life is here, our focus is here.
Our kids go to school here.
Our kids go to school here.
It's kind of hard.
So winter break would probably be the time when we will visit family that now lives in Arizona. But yeah, would you like to visit more often, or?
Every couple of years probably would be better.
Every couple of years. It has been quite a long time sometimes, but it's a very expensive trip with 4 children, and there have been long stretches between her family being able to see us. But it's part of living abroad. How does your wife deal with the cultural differences and being away from her family? What is her favorite part of living a homestead life abroad? Are there any things that you miss about living here that you really miss from the United States?
Corn tortillas.
Corn tortillas.
And some friends and family there, but...
I mean, I myself am not Swedish. I lived in Germany for almost 16 years before we moved to Sweden, and for me it was a very new culture as well. And I have lived half my life in Germany, half my life here, and I feel that I'm between the cultures. And obviously you miss friends and family a lot.
Yeah.
Goodbyes have become something very normal for us. They're still hard, but...
I think if I were to go back to the States, it would not be home to me anymore. Definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah, it just gets like that. But you also grew up in a city. The one part of the question was how it feels to grow up on the homestead, you know, now, or to live on a homestead. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it's my passion too. I can't imagine living a different way, a different kind of lifestyle. I couldn't imagine living anymore. Yeah.
We've just grown in this together a lot of this permaculture, nature-related context of the homesteading we have discovered together. And we really want to provide that kind of food and quality of life for our family.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I was wondering if you could do a video about your tractor and four-wheeler, specifically what jobs you tend to do with them. I hope that's coming. A quick question, given the length of winter, have you considered supplementing your feed with sprouted grain? I believe it's often called fodder in the videos here on YouTube. I will look into sprouted grain at some point. I think if you have a ton of chicken, like hundreds, like we will have, bit labor intensive, and right now we're just buying chicken feed at a local mill. How much land would you recommend for a homestead to work? There are really no limits there, I would say. Start smaller and invest in that land. You know, it really depends on, I would say, if you want to go hobby or full-time. Like this farm, our farm is way too big for hobby, but yeah, you can grow a lot of your food on a small area. You can have...
You can even have chickens and a garden and everything in a backyard size even.
Yeah, exactly. Chicken tractor on the backyard even works. People can do much more than they think, even when they live in cities in their backyard. Edible landscaping and all of that. Did your parents speak Swedish when you moved to Sweden? Just a few words. We learned a little bit of Swedish before we moved here, but most has just come through work and interaction with friends and people here in Sweden. My questions are, if you milk your cows, and how much milk does a Highland cow yield? We do not milk our cows. I've never ever heard of anybody milking a Highland cow. They have been a beef breed, beef producing meat breed. I don't know what you say it in English. For forever. and we do not milk them. But they're amazing. There's another really hardy, good breed here. It's called the Swedish mountain cow, the Fjällko, which once was awarded the most robust and fitted breed for our climate, and they give incredible creamy milk similar to the Jersey cows. They are really, really good, and you can milk them. Does your family sing?
We don't sit down in a circle and sing.
No.
I mean,
No.
But
both my
we
wife,
can all sing.
my wife and I are musicians.
The kids love to sing.
So, do you have a sauna at home?
Not yet.
Not yet. We want one really, really bad to survive the long Swedish winters. And ironically, my dad built saunas, but we haven't built one yet on our own homestead. So that's going to be a project for sure. What's the coldest winter you've had there on the farm, and did you lose any stock due to it? The coldest winter we've had has been negative 29 degrees Celsius, and we had about, let's see here, 4 to 5 feet, 1.5 meters of snow that time. Hopefully I can show some pictures. That was amazing. It was 3.5 months below freezing constantly without a break, and it was just incredible. We loved it.
They had to drive the snow outside of the cities because there was no room alongside the roads where they had plowed it, and it was a crazy winter here.
It was fun, but you know, this winter has been extremely mild. I don't recall ever having experienced something like that, but back then we didn't have many animals, and we had some sheep, but they survived. They do fine. You mentioned a few times you used to have sheep. Why did you get away from them? What breed are you interested in if you start them again? Sheep are my passion, like I said. My wife and I have worked together with the sheep here on the farm. We worked with 2 Swedish older breeds, and one time we crossbred with Dorset sheep, and the reason why I've gotten away from them is because we didn't live here for a while, and there was nobody really to take the initiative, and we can't do everything at the same time. So right now we have to focus on some other things, but we really want to have sheep again. Have you considered growing mushrooms? That is something you would love to do.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
But it seems a little... You have to have a lot of time to get into it, it seems.
Yeah, I think the problem wouldn't maybe not even be so much the time, but just you can't do everything at the same time. We really now this year going full time on the farm have to focus on a couple major things, you know, and then we can see if we can fit that in somehow. Okay, last questions here. Did you dig your own wells? How do you maintain them, or are you on a city water system? We have dug our own wells. This house has its own well, and the other farmhouses are connected to a different well. And our lake has freshwater drinking quality. Actually, a few of our neighbors get their water from the lake, so our garden we water from the lake. The animals get their water mainly from the lake, and the water is just absolutely incredible. And here on the peninsula we have an incredible water quality in our wells. Our neighbors further down on the mainland, so to speak, they have a lot of iron. Mm-hmm. Iron. It tastes like you're biting in a, what do you say usually, in a train track? So it's a little bit like that. We hope this year that we can put a water line down to the lake. We've received several questions also about our faith and stuff, and we're not ashamed that we are Christians, Bible-believing Christians, and in fact I am a pastor on the side, but we don't feel like this is the right place where we share about what church we go to and all of that kind of stuff. We're very thankful for all of you guys who are watching our channel, for the support that we get from you. It has been a great journey over the past few months. It has been busy, very new experience for us. But yeah, I think we also want to announce that we'll only be doing 5 videos a week so that we can have the weekend off, because it has just been too much. And then we'll have to see in the spring when we'll get really busy how it'll be and stuff. But 5 videos a week is still a lot. We don't want the quality to suffer. and we'll try to take the weekends off. And it has been a lot for us to be able to answer all the emails and comments. We receive hundreds of comments and emails and messages a day, and we're just not able to get into all of that. I hope you guys understand that. And as soon as we take half a day or a day off, we are behind so much of that we then have a hard time even going back and looking into who wrote what. And so yeah, that makes it hard. But thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. This is so amazing that we would have 30,000 people who follow us, and the average video maybe gets about 8,000 views right now, and that's just absolutely mind-blowing that 8,000 people would be standing before you and wanting to see what's going on. So we're really excited, really blessed, and we hope that you guys have a great year and will enjoy the Swedish Homestead channel.